Hello and welcome to the Perth Blue Beggars pod. My name is Louis, your host.
And I'm Marty on special comments.
So today we'll be reviewing round 4, another disappointing loss against North Melbourne, same old issues, and previewing our round 5 gather round clash against the Adelaide Crows. So bear with us as well. We're not filming this together in person, so it's on StreamYard and there's a bit of a lag today. So bear with us for that. Hopefully it resolves over the few minutes that we do it. So let's get straight into it. What did you kind of make of that game?
The positive is that often we play, only half of football. I suppose you could say that we played, 3 quarters, even 3.5 quarters in a way. So we stuck it out for a lot longer than we usually do. But, after working so hard to get ourselves into such a strong position, once again, we really collapsed and blew it when it really mattered. And in the last 15 minutes, we're just, it's a sign of, how we're traveling, really, unfortunately. No composure, no confidence, went right into our shell. We couldn't find a player to take the game on, really. It was just very disappointing, I've got to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess you can take out that positive from it. But yeah, just same old issues, and there was reoccurring signs that we have just not learnt from the past, and it's really annoying to keep talking about the same issues week after week. But at least it was slightly better than the previous weeks, I guess.
Yeah, the thing worries me a little bit, though, is that we have played 4 games. We've played 3 games against teams that will likely not feature in the finals, I wouldn't have thought, and we're 1-3. And we've got a tougher road coming up now. So we've had the 3 games that we really should have won all of them. We should be 3-1. And, realistically, the Swans were too good for us, right? But really should have won the other 3. And we're left with very little to show for it. And, the team just lacking confidence. Unfortunately, there was a sense of inevitability when Kangaroos came at us. And that's one thing that I found really frustrating. I don't know about you, is comment by Harry Sheezel, where he said at 3/4 time, I've never been so confident, that we were going to run over these guys. I'm paraphrasing a bit, right? Yeah. And it echoes a few other comments that other players have made this season, in that they know that we're gettable. They know that, when the pressure's on, when the heat's really on us, that we won't stand up. And, you would have thought that fires up the boys. You would have thought that they would go out there to prove someone like that wrong. If a team really respected you, they wouldn't need to say that.
Yeah.
So I think we've become predictable, and people just know that we're gettable, and they know that we'll go to toast if you put the blowtorch on us. And that's a really shocking position to be in.
Yeah, it's incredibly embarrassing. To be known as chokers is not a very good thing to be known for in the AFL world. So it's very frustrating. I'm glad, in a sense, we're doing this quite a few days after the that game, because emotions were quite high. And you also have other fans doing stupid things like graffitiing it's on some wall somewhere again. And obviously the coaching position has continued to be talked about.
Yes, and until he starts winning games of football again, that's inevitable. That's exactly what you're going to get. It's just a reality.
I don't know if you saw it, but one of the things that most people have been saying, most critics of Voss, especially during this game, is our lack of ability to change our midfield centre bounce attendance structure after they kept kicking goals at the end of like in the last 10 minutes, so you had Kemp, Cripps and Hewitt when we were 85 to 64, 21 points up, they kicked a goal that didn't change. They kicked another goal. It only changed with Pito coming through. And then, so that was 9 points to go. And then another goal scores even. They only changed Walsh in, but I feel like that was too late by then. And then you keep Pito, Cripps, Walsh, and Chera, which is the same after they kick the goal to get in front, and then they kick that other goal to get 10 points in front. So I didn't like that indecision by the coaching panel to do that.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest criticisms of Voss is that when the proverbial hits the fan, he's not really got any other options, and he doesn't seem to be sort of changing things up effectively. And, you know, to send all the same guys in who are getting smashed out of the middle, you know, surely you've got to shake things up a bit. You've got to put a few other legs in there. Elijah Hollins is a bit of an X factor. Why wasn't he thrown in there?
Yeah, I don't know. They could have
there
done
are others.
any of the other small forwards. Hayward and Ainsworth already going through there.
Yeah, Ainsworth.
Coaching.
If you don't keep doing the same thing when that happens, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's been one of the criticisms is just sort of just watching the, you know, this unfold and sort of looking, you know, where it looks pathetic.
Yeah, and then I mean, sure, that is our strongest midfield group that we could put out there, right? But unfortunately, that especially Cripps and Hewitt and Chera's been injured as well. Is only just coming in. None of them have been the best in form too. So I don't see how reliable. Like,
I mean, Walsh has been in form, and Walsh has literally got
Walsh.
a couple of times. Yeah,
Walsh
I mean, he's had a pretty good season. I don't like. There's some things I don't like. I don't like how everyone seems to blame Walsh because he signed a long-term contract. Walsh has been great, and Walsh generally, when he's been on the paddock, has been great for Carlton since he came here. You know, I know he's had a few injuries, but he gets getting caught compared a bit unfavourably to Butters and Rosie and a few others. He's a future captain of our club. So, yes, his contract might be a bit long, but he's actually performing really well on the whole.
Yep.
I don't think he was quite as influential today or on the weekend, but he's had a pretty good start to the season. I think in a lot of best and fairest accounts, he'll be top. At the moment. So single out the guys who are not doing much, I say.
Yes, precisely. And then when we come to the selection part of this, we'll talk about a big selection decision that's been made.
That just defies logic for me.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't understand how your highest possession getter, your best and fairest winner, who, yes, he's not been sensational, but he's been okay. And there's a conga line of players that are ahead of him that are doing nothing. And they bring back in a bloke who got about 2 or 3 touches last time.
Yeah.
After just 1 week in reserves. You know, he may as well not have been on the field last time he played. He only had the 1 game in reserves. Apparently didn't set the world alight. And he's back in, you know. And I also don't know what Flynn Young has to do to get a game at a time when lots of other people aren't doing much. The guy's just about BOG every week in the resis and can't get a game. I mean, there's something that just doesn't sound right to me.
Yep. Well, yeah, so part of those changes we see Hayward come out from his suspension, replaced with Williams. And then we saw Weitring, because of his concussion, has been replaced with Nick Haynes. And then so Hudson O'Keefe replaced who, was it?
So Weitring, Hayward, and who's the third omitted?
Hewitt, of course. What I mean,
Hewitt. So it's not even a like, is it?
No.
And lo and behold, just what we need is a little less pace.
And then, and then also, here's another issue, right? It's going to be a wet weather game too in the forecast. Do we really need the extra?
That's the kind of game that would suit you for that.
Yeah.
There's a few things that just don't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a bit baffling. So we covered our selection part of this, just like that. There was no other real things apart from I don't take too much into account where they place people on that.
I think that's actually irrelevant. I think there's a bit of ducks and drags stuff happening there. It doesn't kind of make sense.
They always do it, yeah. And there's always a few of those each week. So, that's the review covered. Let's go into the preview. So we mentioned our teams. What do you want to see against the Adelaide Crows? It's going to be a.
Oh man! I mean, this is going to be a tough one. They've got some of the best forwards in the business, and they're big forwards. They're guys that are really hard to match up on. And we've got Lewis Young, Nick Haynes, and perhaps Wade Dirksen is our backline. So if you ask me, Wiedering and young Harry Dean, who gives everything he's got, are out, and they're huge losses in the context of the Adelaide game. And unless we can starve them the forward line of the ball, they're going to absolutely carve us up, I reckon. So our only chance is to win enough of the ball in the midfield and to move it quickly. That's the only thing. What I really want to see us do against Adelaide is to take the game on. I think that I don't even care if we turn the ball over. We've got to take the game on. The only spark of life that I've seen is during the preseason. And what happened? We're moving the ball quickly. We're getting the ball we're lowering our eyes. We're hitting up targets inside 50. That's the way that we need to play. And you've got to keep taking on the game. We actually crawled into our shell in the last quarter. We tried to ice the game, but the game wasn't ready to be iced. We were more than halfway through that last quarter, more than half of the last quarter to go, and we're trying to chip the ball backwards. You can't try and do that. You've got to try and score. And I think it showed, some panic setting in, So we haven't done our best players yet either.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Well, you can if you want to. Yep, I didn't. Where were my 5? Let me see if I actually made a list. I did. Okay. You do yours. Yep.
All right. So my top play, it's a bit unusual because he wasn't top of the position getters, but I just like his X factor, and I thought Elijah Hollands was great.
Yep.
He was just, in fact, I think he's having a pretty good season, really, given this guy got dumped from the list and had to, wait until pretty much the last spot got filled before he had another go at it. And he's really sort of thrown himself in. Not everything's worked for him. It's been times he's turned the ball over a bit, but I think that he was a real X factor. And notwithstanding the end of the game, he gave us every chance, I think. So he was my 5 players. Who do you have with the 5 votes?
Also Elijah, yeah.
Yeah. So he's, I think it's great. For 4, I had Ben Ainsworth. I thought he was pretty good. I think it's pretty lively. The 21 touches, he was in the game a fair bit. I noticed he got in the coaches' votes as well, which I'm intrigued by. The coaches' vote probably more than the Brownlow because they speak to what a coach and his opposition coach saw out in the field and the tactics and the strategy. So they clearly felt that he was making an impact. And for someone who's spent time in the midfield but also spent time forward, for him to be one of our best possession getters, I think was a good sign. So Ben Ainsworth was my 4 votes.
I had
as fourth.
Mark Pinonet. So he had 11 disposals, 7 score involvements, 2 goals, dominated the rock, had 17 hitouts to advantage, which is the equal most in the AFL this season. In a game, 6 score launches, and he was the highest rated player according to AFL player ratings. My only criticism, though, was I think he went at like 46% disposal efficiency, which wasn't the best. So we got
that's my one critique. Down at 2 votes, he got in my votes. So for all those things, he was pretty good, and he's having a pretty good season. Pitnet. And again, he is amongst the goals there, but probably just overall his disposal rate, wasn't fantastic. So that was a bit of a factor for me. My 3 votes went to Ollie Hollands. So I love those Hollands boys. I thought he was really influential across the game. I like the energy that he brings as well. So I was
well, something that was good about Ollie that he gets criticised for is his kicking and disposal efficiency. So he went at 86% disposal efficiency this game, and his kicking efficiency was 87%, and only 3 turnovers, which was good to see.
So as I was saying, I've given 5 votes to Elijah, 4 votes to Ben Ainsworth. My 3 votes goes to Ollie Hollands. I thought the Hollands boys had a pretty good day out, and I thought it was a 4-quarter effort from Ollie. I thought he tried really hard. He always gives you a lot of effort, Ollie, and I thought he was. I mean, he had next to after Cripps the most positions in the last quarter when he was struggling. He's the one bloke that doesn't go to water that always gives you 100%. He doesn't disappear. Need to disappear. And I thought it was pretty solid hit out from him. Took 10 marks, laid 5 tackles. He's the kind of guy that always gives you 100%. So always got plenty of time for Ollie. Yeah.
Yep. So my 3 votes goes to Nick Newman. He had 19 disposals, 9 marks, 90% disposal efficiency, 426 meters gained, and 1 goal where he celebrated passionately. I think, he was very much needed, and it showed how much we missed him in the game.
Yeah, he was the one bloke I reckon down back who was composed. He stayed composed after Wiedering went down. We didn't really mention Wiedering. Louis, he went down with concussion. And, we've said plenty of times, Wiedering's the single most important person to our structure. The rest of our backs, you've got, very young Harry Dean. We haven't seen much of Haynes yet this season. I've got my doubts about Lewis Young. McGovern's played a lot of footy up forward and, with some effect. So I reckon there's a big gap after Wiedering. And when he went down, I think that really played havoc with our structure. But the one bloke who still stood tall in our back line was Nick Newman. He's got 1 vote for me.
Yep. So my 1 vote went to Matt Carroll, who I think was relatively decent, let's say. 15 disposals, 6 marks, 80% disposal efficiency, 5 rebound 50s, 398 meters gained, and 5 ground balls. So he had a bit more of his wing time again. And that experiment's going okay. I don't know whether he should stay in his role that he has always been known of halfback through his junior years and whatever, but
I still probably prefer him at halfback. And just because halfback is the spot where you normally launch your attacks. And he is one guy that when his confidence is up, he takes on the game. and he can deliver the ball really well as well. I mean, I'd like to see him a little bit more consistent with his delivery, but he's got that ability. Not that many players on a given team have the ability to cut through the opposition, and I think he does. So that's why I'd have him at halfback and really launching a lot of our attacks. I agree with you. Not surprised he's in your votes. But yeah, I fitted 2 Holland boys, Mark Bittenett, Ainsworth, and Newman for mine. He gets the final vote, 1 vote for me. So that's my top 5.
Yeah, I think mine only really differs with the placings, and Ainsworth didn't make it for me. But yeah, he would be maybe an underrated one if we gave one for me.
Look, on the other end, it is unfortunate because I was quite excited when Will Hayward came over, but he had a pretty poor game, let's face it. And the giving away the 250-metre penalties was just crucial. That really hurt us. And there was a few other players I would have liked to see get a bit more out of. But let's hope that they pick it up there. And we did miss a crucial shot right at the end, Frank the Tank, unfortunately, which could put us back in front.
Yeah, you never know. If we converted a few more times before their little run in the last 10 minutes too, I think there was even chances to put us up to maybe 30 points in front, but we didn't take it.
Yeah, no, we missed some crucial opportunities, and that's something that's been there with us a number of times, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
In the third quarter, I think we missed some definite opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah. Brody did kick 2 goals, but he did miss 3.
Yeah.
And I think one of them at least was an absolute sitter.
He had 3 goals, 3. Not much else. 4 marks, 11 disposals, 2 tackles inside 50. Wasn't quite worthy of votes for me.
No, well, like I said, I would have liked to see him probably convert a couple of more of those opportunities. And it's good to see him kick 3 goals, but I would like to see it's not just the goals you kick. It's all that effort off the ball as well that I think it's a part of the overall package that you expect.
Yep, I agree. So we've coherently covered the review of the game, and we've done a bit of the preview already, but any other thoughts on the Adelaide matchup?
Well, I sort of offered a bit of analysis earlier, and I think the key is to win plenty of the ball and to use it well and quickly, and try and hit them on the turnover. I think that's going to be really important. But conversely, if they get us if we turn the ball over, we got to get numbers back. That's the only chance we've got. I'm very worried about our back line. I think that we could be cut to shreds. They've got plenty of talent there. They're also going to be really hungry. I think they missed out on a couple of close matches, Adelaide. So they know they need to win this one, and they've got plenty of talent to burn. So I expect them to probably, they're at home. So we got a lot of prevailing wins against us.
Yep. Something that does give me hope, though, is they've been really bad in their first half. So we could if we capitalize as we usually do in the first half, get a bit of a lead up, and then finally learn from our previous experiences. You might be able to hold them off. I don't know. Not with our current defense, though. I doubt that will be happening. And we just do not want a repeat of last year. Remember how terrible that was? We were terrible from the get-go.
That was one of our worst performances of the year. We got absolutely flogged.
Yeah.
And look, I suppose one thing about it is we haven't, 3 of those last 3 games. I'm really disappointed we didn't win all 3 of them, but and we gave up too many late goals too easily, but none of them were blowouts really. And Sydney was a blowout, and Sydney was a absolute demolition in the second half. So I think we've got to find a way to prevent them from getting a run on in terms of goals against us.
I agree. It's not going to be an easy task. So I don't think there's much to do with predictions because I ain't tipping us.
Well, you just can't. Not on the evidence that we're seeing. You just can't.
Yep. So similar to last week, but we can still try and predict who will be our best on ground and most goals. So who do you have for that?
I'm on Sammy Walsh a fair bit this year, and I think he's gonna fire up for another big performance. So
Yep.
I'm picking him to excel again. Yeah, look, here's one from left field, a bloke that's not quite grabbed grabbed his opportunities just yet, but gee, we could do with a big game from Harry Mackay, couldn't we?
Yeah, we should. He needs to defy the doubters. People calling for his head already to trade him at the end of the year.
Oh, look, there's going to be a lot of idiots. I mean, I'm hearing people calling for Cripps to be traded. That's how ridiculous this has got, you know. So ignore all the noise. Yeah. In some ways, look, when you're expected to probably lose, and Adelaide's a very good football team, I think, then in some ways a little less pressure. When you're expected to, maybe that might help us if we're underdogs this time.
Yeah. You cut off a little bit there, but unfortunately that's been what's happening tonight with us. All right, so my best, other than Sam Walsh, took that from me. Who else do I'll just stick with Sam Walsh. He's just been the most consistent of our players. And I don't think that will change anytime soon. Most goals for Carlton. I know who Adelaide's most goals will be, Ben Keys. He always tears us to shreds. But then our most goals, maybe McGovern, I think. McGovern's hitting some form.
McGovern's been pretty good up forward this year. You know, he's found a new lease of life. I think he's winning the head-to-head battle with Brody Kemp, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like 6 goals, I think.
Yeah.
Which is decent. Pitto as well with 6 goals. Maybe Pitto might be on the top of the charts.
Look, Pitto just needs to keep doing what he's doing. I mean, he's having a pretty good season so far. That's one I didn't quite predict.
Yeah, Pitto and Walsh have been our 2 best. They're right in front on the best and fairest charts at the moment, no doubt. So
I would have picked Walsh, but not Pitto.
Yeah. If he wins the best and fairest, it would be a pretty bad indictment on the club.
Well, probably it demonstrated he's had an amazing season, but you'd have to wonder about the form of some of the other players.
Yep. Okay, so that's all we've got. This is going to be posted in the morning or afternoon, depending from which areas of the country you're listening to it before the game. So make sure you take this a listen. It's probably going to be a bit shorter than usual, which is fine. Hope you stay tuned. We'll bring you an analysis soonish after the game too. And make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and also give us a comment, see whether you disagree or agree. Let's really fuel the discussion. Why not? Thank you for tuning in. Up the Baggers.
Calm the Blues.